The challenge is these protests are not the same as the terror attacks. If somebody wants to provide resources so people can protest, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that's a free speech thing.
Absolutely. And then if people after the fact engage in terror because the sentiment was built up by these protests, we know what the Democrat megadonors are wanting to do, should it be the case. Mm-hmm. You don't fund these things.
Is he definitely saying defund the protests, or was that a sort of, maybe he got the wording wrong and he meant to say the attacks on Teslas?
What do you mean? He says arrest the people funding it.
Funding the
Quote,
protests.
Arresting their puppets and paid foot soldiers won't stop the violence.
Yes, but he says the
it
violence.
It is time to arrest those funding the attacks.
Right. So but you're saying funding the protests shouldn't. It's fine to fund the protest, but he says the protest, but later he says the attacks and the violence. And so he might be using the word protest synonymously with the attacks and violence.
Right.
When you're saying protest is fine, attacks and violence problem. Presumably you do think it's a good idea to stop funding the attacks and violence.
Yes.
That's not an escalation to arrest those people.
But I agree. It seems that using them interchangeably, as he goes on to say, Reed will have many layers between himself and the organizations attacking me. But the probability is 100% that Reed is funding them. So if these organizations are attacking him and he is saying funding the attacks, I don't know if he thinks that the terror attacks are being funded by somebody, because he's never expressed that. He's saying outright the attacks in general. I think he's using them interchangeably.
Yes.
And that's a problem, too, because that's something that people who are more in line with their cause are going to seize on and say that it's a free speech issue. And they're going to say that he's trying to shut down dissenting opinions when what he's actually trying to say is that he wants the violence to stop.
Right.
That's a messaging issue.
He probably wants the protests to stop also.
But he should understand that it's bad optics
mind, sure.
to do that.
But in his mind, it's all sort of an attack. I mean, Tim Waltz saying that he was enjoying seeing the Tesla stock tank was an attack.
Yeah.
And of course, we've seen that all over the place. Jasmine Crockett, is that an attack? Is all of this an attack? Which part is the attack?
I don't know how any of this could be happening, because how can Democrats have mega donors? Because they keep talking about oligarchs and billionaires. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine there are any actual Democratic oligarchs and billionaires. That just wouldn't make any sense.
One thing that it might be the case that there's a link between USAID and something, and I don't have any conclusive evidence of that. However, USAID were funding the Tides Foundation, which is a foundation that Soros has also founded, that to the tune of $27 million was giving money to the Black Lives Matter. So there is a history there of funding.
Tides also was funding some of the anti-Israel stuff.
Was it really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Which stuff? The Columbia University stuff?
They were in there somewhere. I remember we had reporting on that, and I'm not remembering exactly what it was.
So you're saying that this could actually be worse right now if it wasn't for the gutting of USAID? Theoretically.
Well, it'd be interesting if he was more clear about exactly where the funding's coming from.
It was the campus stuff.
It was the campus stuff. That Tides was funding across all the universities across the
universities in the U.S.
I guess it would be interesting to, it's easy to say George Soros funds everything, but you actually want to see how exactly is the Open Societies Foundation funding them. So what I'd ask of Elon, what I want to know is how he's alleging that Reid Hoffman is funding them. How exactly? He says that it eventually goes 100%. It traces all the way back to Reid Hoffman. But let's see that line, expose that line, because then it's clear. Otherwise, it's all quite nebulous and it's even opaque counter by Musk.
I think that's actually one. I think that type of language is a problem right now, right? When you make claims without the ability to actually prove that that's what's going on, then it just falls in line with political rhetoric rather than actually trying to root out a problem that's going on, and people are going to take that as being politically biased to one side.
I mean, why not also arrest the people doing the violence? Yeah, they actually should. Sure.
I think his point is that more will just start popping up. It's not going to stop.
Right.
But they should all be arrested and charged with felonies. And even the low tier stuff, like that woman who put gum on the car. People don't understand that it's an electronic mechanism used to open Tesla car doors.
Yeah, it was in the handle.
Yeah, and that breaks it. That's if it was a Model S, because they flatten and they stick out when you walk up and the car's open, they all just come out and the windows drop a little bit. It's kind of weird. But the other models have the push mechanism, which could still be damaged by the gum. She was trying to break the car.
Yeah.
Did you see that one amazing?
You got a felony.
What's the big Tesla called? The silver
Cybertruck?
The Cybertruck, and someone put a big Toyota sticker on the back.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic.
Well, I mean, they're scared of terror attacks.
Well, there's also signs in New York, like in the 80s, there would be signs in people's cars. People would have like these signs, no radio, so that people wouldn't break in and steal it. And now people have signs like, I'm descended from Holocaust survivors. We're not Nazis. We bought the car a long time ago. It was to help the environment.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.